Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Volkanovski versus Rodriguez fight. If you are new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so, like the video if you need like video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Volkanovski is 25-2 with 12 KOs and 3 submissions, and Rodriguez is 16-3 with 6 KOs and 4 submissions. This fight is for the UFC featherweight title. Volkanovski's last fight was a loss via unanimous decision versus Makhachev, and Rodriguez's last fight was a win via submission in round 2 versus Emmett. Both fighters are traditionally strikers, so somewhat of a contrasting style there. Volkanovski has beat almost all the top featherweights around at the moment, and so seemingly Rodriguez is like the only big name that he's got left to beat, because I mean, if you look at it, what Ortega he's beat now, Holloway he's beat now, and now moving on to Rodriguez, they're pretty much all the big main ones around at the moment. And then I mean, other than that, you look at somebody possibly like a Tapera who's coming up. I'll probably butcher his name then, but he's coming up, and so possibly that as an option. But realistically, he has beaten all the top guys, and even though Rodriguez has lost against Holloway in 2021 and Edgar in 2017, that Holloway loss, since then he's been building and he's been getting back to the level where he wants to be, and so now he's at this good level and at a point where he can be challenging for these titles, and he's the top guy, he's the interim champion, and so fair play to him to building himself back up, and now Volkanovski has this new challenger ahead of him. Also on this card though is Moreno versus Pantoja for the rematch for the UFC flyweight title, in which I think Pantoja will win via unanimous decision. I think it will be a good fight, this one. I think this is a slept on fight, to be completely honest, and I think that it's going to end with a Pantoja win. Like I said, I think Moreno, I believe, but because Pantoja's already beat Moreno, I think Moreno might have that little bit of possibly more nerves going to this, or just a little bit of like something different going into this fight, because he is like this. And it's like similar to what happened with the Adesanya Pereira situation. Adesanya, in that, obviously when Pereira first came over and challenged for the title, he was the guy to beat Adesanya, and he'd already beaten him twice, and there was all this kind of stuff around him, and then adds a lot more pressure. And then obviously Adesanya lost the first one, obviously came back and won the second one, but he lost the first one. So either way, I think that it does play a factor, and it does play quite a big factor, and I think Pantoja will be able to win this one. And then it's just from that point, it wouldn't surprise me if they end up fighting again, but from that point it's then making the flyweight division that bit more interesting, because I think it's been too long since the flyweight division has been genuinely that interesting, and so it's going to be nice to see the bit more action in that division now. And also on this card is Whittaker versus Duplessis, in which I think Whittaker will win via split decision. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I think people are writing off Duplessis a little bit, but I think Whittaker at the end of the day has that better. I mean, he's more experienced at this level. He's still fighting at this top level, and he understands the game, I think, a bit better, and he's used to he's used to beating these challengers, these up and comers, and being a little bit of a gatekeeper for the middleweight division for the moment. And of course, he wants to get another title shot again, and so I think he will win this one. But like I said, close fight, split decision. But going back to the main event, Volkanovski as a fighter, of course, he's powerful, got great straight shots, great jab, great straight left, inside leg kicks, amazing. Great in close, typically a high-paced fighter, imposes his strength, comfortable on the ground, and has a great work rate. Sorry, I kind of messed it up then, but either way, yeah, he is a very well-rounded striker. I think, like I said, he is comfortable on the ground. He showed that against Makhachev. He was on the ground, and he was taking Makhachev to the ground at times, and everybody was thinking, like, as soon as it went on the ground, that Makhachev would win, and it would be easy. But Volkanovski showed that he can work on the ground, and he is a comfortable fighter on the ground, and it's something that you need to be. You don't want to be panicking, because that's when you make silly mistakes, and he wasn't doing that. And he was landing, of course, his own straight shots, and the inside leg kicks he used very well against Holloway, and especially in that third fight, that's probably one of the leading factors of why he won that, because he was just so dominant with the leg kicks and imposed himself so much, and he does fake it quite well, making it look like it's going to the head and then putting it down to the body. It's impressive, and he is one of the best pound for pound fighters around in the UFC at the moment. I mean, what, top 3, top 4? So yeah, he is amazing. But his supposed negatives, he can be a little bit wild. He's not as good on the back foot. he can overcommit at times. He used to being the smaller fighter. I suppose it's not really a negative. He's used to being that, and he is going to be again here. He's willing to fight opponents' fights, and I suppose that's also not too much of a negative because he can outfight the opponent in their own fight, and when you can do that, that is very impressive that you can do that. Not many fighters can do that. His chin has been questioned a little bit against Magachev. In fights previous to that, he was seen as like having that granite chin, but against Makachev it did get tested a bit, and you can see there is certain weaknesses. And of course he can't overlook Rodriguez here and think of the possible rematch with Makachev or any other big fights. Even though this might not be a huge two-weight title fight, it's still a big fight, and he needs to be up for it and needs to be focused for it. But moving on now to Rodriguez. Rodriguez, of course, he's been fighting at this level for a long time, and so similar to Volkanovski, both have been fighting at this level quite a long time now. He is the taller fighter. He's got them fast, long kicks. He maintains his reach. He's best when countering. He's accurate, picks his shots well, follows up on his shots. In and out type of fighter, has a great shot variation. He's eager to prove, and he's got long limbs to submit, and he can submit you from a submission. That doesn't really make much sense, but he can submit fighters. Obviously he hasn't done it much with a 4 in 16, but he can do it, and he is also comfortable on the ground and capable on the ground. And I just don't see this fight going into the ground, to be completely honest, because I think they're both good enough to, but I just don't think they're that bothered about doing it, to be completely honest. I think that's not going to be in either of their game plans, unlike when Volkanovski fought Makachev. He wanted to fight his game and prove that he can, but I don't think that in this one he has to prove anything. And so, I mean, of course, Rodriguez, this of maintaining of the reach is going to have to be very important if he's going to be fighting Volkanovski. I think he's not going to put him on the back foot, so I feel like there's a positive for Volkanovski there. I think he's used to being against counter punches a little bit. I think Holloway was a bit of a counter puncher at times, and he is that longer kind of fighter as well, similar to what Rodriguez is. But I think Rodriguez just has very good movement in and out. He is difficult to hit at times, and so he is going to be a difficult opponent here and a elusive opponent at times. He can also become reckless at points as well. Little bits of times where he's just kind of, when he follows up, he does become a little bit reckless, but still, I don't think Volkanovski is that much of a counter puncher to be really countering when these reckless moments happen. So, you know, it's just when Volkanovski goes in, Rodriguez might be able to counter him a bit better. He is easier to take down, in my opinion, than what Volkanovski is, Rodriguez, and he can't get too aggressive, because I think he's best when he's not getting too aggressive and he's just picking his shots and he's being composed and doing it that way. And when he isn't, then he can be, like I said, a bit reckless and make mistakes, and that's when you might get caught against Volkanovski. Volkanovski is the favourite, and I think that Volkanovski will win via unanimous decision. I think, like I mentioned, he's fought similar opponents to this in the past, and as long as he isn't overlooking him and manages to put together his game plan, and I think that will be to just try and keep it in close and maybe take a few shots but then give his own ones back, and then I think Volkanovski will win via unanimous decision. I think I would also like to see Volkanovski try get Rodriguez up against a cage. I think that would probably be the best fact there. It's just because I don't think Rodriguez has that kind of realistic one punch KO power, so if he can get him up against it, he might take a couple, but like I said, he'll probably be able to give his powerful ones back. And then possible opponents where he goes on from there. Makachev, a rematch might be available, depends what Makachev wants to do. I mean, I would definitely love that fight again. Fight Topura is another option, or I put here the winner of Poirier versus Gaethje, because it seems like Volkanovski does want to go up to lightweight, but that's also a good big fight there, and if he isn't going to get straight into a title again, then that could be an option. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you didn't, like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.